Hello, hello. Welcome to Happiness is a Healthier Habit with me, Jackie Poole, where we chat about mom life, weight loss, habits, and everything in between. And today we're going to talk about 24/7 mom struggles. And we know when we become moms, I've been a mom for 8 years now, and I know the first few years of life can be very difficult because all of you goes to them. Whenever the baby gets there, it's always you're pregnant and how are you feeling and all that good stuff. And once the baby is out, it's all about the baby. And, I know that that's normal. That's part of our norm as far as moms go, but it just turns out to be all about them at one point, and we kind of lose ourselves and don't really know what to do once they get older or they don't need us as much anymore. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today, because lately, these past few days, I've been in this mood. I'm just here. And again, routines are amazing for automating things and making life easier, simpler. Things actually get done and everyone's on the same page. But I've just been in this mood. And there's days where I feel amazing, where it's usually after my period. I feel like I get myself back after those bloody days and my energy's high, and that's kind of normal or expected because your estrogen levels are going back up. Even my workout sessions feel a lot better. But even, for example, I had my first son and I got to stay home with him the first year of his life, and I just kind of breastfed him that entire year, and it was super easy. I wasn't worried about work or anything like that. So, besides sleep, he was a horrible sleeper until he was like 3 years old. He slept pretty well, but it was all about feeding him and making sure he was good, and it was super simple back in the day. It was just me and him. But even after my first and second, my second and third child, I was working, I was pumping, daycare came into place. So routines were super important to have. And there's a couple of things that happened, those years. For example, whenever we started daycare with the second one, I remember one time they had to call me from daycare because they were out of milk. So that worry for me always stuck after I got that call that one time. I'm like, I hope he doesn't run out of milk. He wasn't doing solids yet. So, as a mom, you always worry about your kids. You're always, constantly hoping and wondering if they're okay. For example, also when I would go to the gym in the mornings, I really wanted to make sure to get back on track and not lose my healthy habits. And working out for me was something that I did not want to give up when I had my second son. So one of the things that I would do is, because I was pumping and it was way after, I had established my milk and all that good stuff, I would pump before I would go work out. So I would wake up super early, like at 2:30 in the morning. And I know better not to do that. I didn't do that for the third one. But I would wake up at 2:30 in the morning and I would pump. I would get ready to go to the gym. I would go work out, come home, get ready, take the kids to daycare and go to work and then go pick them up after work. And it was just insane to think about that I was actually doing all those things. And then whenever you come home from work and get them, you start like that second shift of making sure they do their homework, make sure they get bathed, they get dressed, they have dinner, all that. So it's like it was never ending. And you give up so much of who you are those first years. And don't get me wrong, without all my routines and self habits, I think I would be in like a worse mood than I'm feeling right now. But what I'm trying to say is being a mom, whether you're stay-at-home mom or working, is not really easy. And, there's days that my kids are still a little older, but there's days that I just want to throw in the towel and just kind of want to give up. And thankfully, they're just thoughts, but it's hard when there's all of these things that people believe and think you should do or not do. For example, my mom, she has this belief that we should always want to be together with them, that I should always want to be not separate from them, and they're not going to be little anymore and they're going to be grown. And I do. There's days that I just want to worry about me. That might sound selfish, but it's not. And I'm sure there's others that have that feeling, and she still supports me in what I want to do. For example, for New Year's, I wanted to have a night out with just me and my husband and not worry about the kids. And they're a little older now, so my worries aren't the same as if they were younger, like babies or anything like along those lines, as far as like I hope they're okay, or they're they have enough milk. As they get older, things change for sure. But again, I wanted to have a night out, and she's like, I don't understand why y'all want to do that. And I was like, I haven't had a night out with my husband in months. I would just like to enjoy myself, maybe have a drink or two, and just have fun and enjoy my night out without worrying about they're cranky or they want to go home. Because there's times where I go to certain gatherings or friends' birthday parties, and it's getting late or around their bedtime, and my younger one is always like, oh, I'm ready to go home, can we go home? And you want to enjoy your night out. And it was New Year's, so she's like, I guess. And she took care of them, and I know they're in good hands. She loves them, and she was there to support me. And sometimes you just need to find somebody that's going to help you and support you and whatever decisions you make, even though they might think differently from what you're doing. Is the support that counts. And again, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, they're always with you. They're always with me. And don't get me wrong, I love those days, and I'm so glad that I get to do that, because there's other women that would kill to be in my position. But there's days that I just want to curl into a ball and just hide and not be seen. And it's part of, again, our hormones and how we feel, different types of the days of the month and how things are changing. But it's also part of just being a mom, and no one gives you a guide on how to handle certain things. And all I know is I love doing what I do, and I wouldn't ever want to give this up. But I do have these feelings on occasion, and like the funk that I've been in. So there's certain things that I do to, once I'm aware I'm feeling this way, to try to get out of this vibe that I'm in into a more happier, stable, more, better emotional state. And so one of my weak points is taking my vitamins, and I am not good. So good with other things, but I have not dialed in taking my vitamins on a regular occasion. I take them like throughout the day as I remember, not on a scheduled time like I should. But when I realize that I am having these emotions, I make it a point to take my vitamin D more regularly. So after I had my kiddos, I actually had blood work done, and the 2 times that I got it done, my vitamin D came back low. And so I make sure now to, when I do take vitamin D, to take 2,000 IUs of it regularly when I'm in this mood, or with my other vitamins or so. But half of the population is actually deficient in vitamin D. So, and insurances don't actually cover this test, so you have to pay out of pocket. So I wouldn't recommend that. And vitamin D is so good for, one of the things is mood regulation. It helps you feel better, along with bone health. It helps support your immune system. And it can even support you in your weight loss journey if that's something that you're looking to do. Some foods that might have vitamin D are like egg yolks or salmon or tuna. I love tuna. It's one of my favorite meals to make. Super easy. You just cut like some pico de gallo and mix it with a little bit of celery and put it in a, good tostada and some Valentina sauce and jalapenos. And if you like spicy food, it's so, so good. And I have that like every other week. It's super easy to make and high on protein, and you'll definitely get your vitamin D that way. Another thing that I make it a point to do is try to be outside more if possible. It helps me definitely improve my mood, especially if I've been inside quite a bit. Staying home, I go outside and walk, but usually, the sun tends to hide a little bit more in the winter season. We have more rainy, gloomier days. So it can be a little bit more difficult to get that sun. But I do try to make a point of it when there is sun out to go out and spend some time outside. And I definitely encourage that with walking in the mornings and just getting the sun first thing if you can. Another thing that I do that I didn't realize I did, but I was actually doing these past days, was I try to squeeze in more hugs and just really feel them and let them know how much you love them. They always love, my middle one loves giving me a kiss on my forehead and coming to me and saying, "Mommy, I love you," without me asking for it. So make it a point to increase that for yourself, because there's studies that show that human touch and contact definitely increases our endorphins and creates less stress feelings. And they grow up so fast. My oldest one just told me he doesn't need help reaching the sink faucet anymore, that he can reach it on his own now. And they are just growing so fast in front of your eyes that you don't even realize it sometimes until they make comments like this, or they don't fit on their shoes or clothes, and they're just growing up right in front of you and you don't even realize it. So it's so funny he told me that, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have to get your water anymore. And lastly is I try to be more mindful, more present of how I'm feeling. I let myself sit with these emotions. I don't try to ignore them or brush them off, or I don't try to watch TV more or try to be on my phone less, try to be more mindful of how I'm feeling, and other things that I can do like stretching or breath work, things that will kind of get me in a more quieter and really acknowledging what I'm feeling, because being aware of your own body and your emotions can lead you to better ways of dealing with these types of situations and not just ignoring them or brushing them off under the rug. It's better to just confront what you're feeling and deal with it than hiding it. And so with that being said, having conversations with others, like, personally, I love talking to my mom. We talk with each other, at least every 3-4 days, making sure we're all right. And it's important to talk to somebody. And if you don't have anybody that you can talk to, journaling is fine. But especially if you feel alone, or like me, I don't have any family close to me here. Everybody's about 2 hours away. So the phone can reach anybody. So it's there for you to talk and conversate. And if you don't have anybody, then just write it down, or, talk to somebody about how you're feeling. But it's important to get those feelings and express how you are feeling at the moment, so you're not really holding that inside of you. And again, you'll feel a lot better after, doing all of these things and acknowledging that you're feeling that way and what's going on with you. And once you do that and work through it, then I'm sure you're going to feel a lot different after being in that funk. And sure enough, I always do. And so again, being a mom is a 24/7 job along with all of the other things that you have, and it can definitely be overwhelming, but there's things that you can do to work through it. And that's what I wanted this episode to be about today, because you're not alone. We all have these thoughts, and we don't have a guide that tells us exactly what to do, but every day we try our best, and that's what matters. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so thankful that you got to listen to this episode. And if you are looking to get coached on nutrition to finally lose the weight, schedule a call with me at jackiepools.com. And so that discovery call is usually about 30 minutes, and we talk about your goals and how we can accomplish that and how we can work together. Also, please subscribe to my free newsletter, which comes out once a week on Tuesdays, and you will get weight loss tips that you can start implementing right away. And it's just another way for us to stay connected. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.